Welcome back to the latest episode of the CGA Tour podcast. As always, here I'm your host, Calvin Glen Alexander. And on today's episode of the podcast, it's a Bedlam recap, a Big 12 championship preview. So I'm joined by great friend, fellow ex-OSU intern, and current Kansas City resident, Colin Price. Colin, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty great. How you doing, my guy?
Doing good, man. It's been a minute since we've caught up. Definitely been a minute since we've talked some Oklahoma State football, but no time better than the present, especially after the win on Saturday. Man, what a game.
Just a great weekend, start to finish.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll get into it in a minute, I'm sure here. But what a great day to be a Cowboy fan and a fan of teams in the, really any team in the Big 12. To be honest. Because the arch rival, the enemy number one, any team in the Big 12 since 2014, because that's the last year they, didn't win the Big 12 championship, is happy today because OU is in shambles. I don't necessarily want to overstate this too much and just really rain on a parade, but it's the first time we've won Bedlam since 2014. I think it's fine. I think we can get a pass.
No,
we can get a pass for
there's
sure.
no overstating it when it's not stated enough to begin with. So
exactly. With all being said, what were your takeaways from Saturday? I mean, you're able to watch the game a little differently than I was, and I've gone back and watched replay the game once, but probably watch it again tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah. So my biggest takeaways is this team is special. It is very special. It's unlike any OSU team I've seen in my time as a fan. Now I'm gonna, if anyone over the age of 25 is watching, I'm 27, so I don't remember the Barry Sanders era. I kind of came in, right as Gundy was starting to find his rhythm and figure things out. So 2011 on, let's just say that. But this team is winning with his defense, which is something that the Big 12 really hasn't seen since the last time OU won a national championship. I mean, can you think of because the Texas teams, that was the 2005 Texas was, offense first, defense get by. They haven't had a team winning with the defense in 2 decades, it seems. And so to have an OSU team, no less, a team that has built its own entire national brand on hurry up, go fast, spread them out, throw the ball kind of offense, and be like, you know what? We're going to slow it down. We're going to slow it down. We're going to punch you in the mouth on defense, and we're going to impose our will on you, and we're going to decide how this game goes.
And we're going to decide how this game goes from not just from the jump, but we're going to keep it up the whole game. I think that's something where in the past we've seen it. Oh, okay, all right. Well, somebody will make a defensive stand, and then the other team will be playing catch up the whole entire time. This is an Oklahoma State team unlike any other I've seen because over the besides this last weekend's game, over the past 3 games before then, there were a total of 23 points scored, and only. I think only 17, if I have that right, were actually on the defense itself. I think there's one offensive one there, where TCU got to score off, a turnover, basically. So it is unlike any team I've seen before from OSU for a couple other reasons as well. But mainly, I mean, this Jim Knowles guy comes in. I got to say, didn't know much about him coming into before he came into OSU. I mean, I had to look up a bunch of stuff. He wasn't like a highly touted defense coordinator. I will say that's kind of Gundy's MO with coordinators, though. I mean, there is the Sean Gleason, who is at Rutgers now, but I forget where he was beforehand, and there's other
Princeton,
guys.
if I remember
Princeton?
right.
Yeah. And there's seems like always a guy from like a small school. I mean, if anyone's, really trying to, go out there with old crazy man over in West Virginia and, then Lubbock and now in Houston, right? Dana Holgerson.
Yep.
It's kind of bizarre. And I don't know how I thought the season was going to go, but I got to say, this is not how I thought it would go. No matter what my prediction was, this is not how I thought the season would go, although I am extremely ecstatic that it did go this way.
I said it as a joke after I don't remember if it was the Tulsa game or the Boise State game, or in non-conference play, I think it was Boise State because we had 3 games back to back where after every single game, we said, you know what? A win's a win. Let's never talk about it again. Move on. And then it kept happening. I was like, this team's going to keep doing that. Just, enough on offense to get by. Defense is really holding the line. And every single week, we're going to say, you know what? Let's never talk about this again. We got the win to move on. And up until, after the Iowa State game where they, finally lost, that's how they were. Every single game was like that. The first time they played Baylor, 3 ugly turnovers from Spencer Sanders, but the defense is just not giving up an inch. Pull away a little bit at the end there. It's just how they've been. Get by, get the win. Let's not talk about it again. I said it was going to be the season no one remembers because we never wanted to talk about it. But I think they're going to be remembering this one for a long time now.
I think so too, and I think this season is going to be huge for, lineage going forward, all type of stuff, etc. But you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This is the season where we kind of killed OU. I don't think killing OU is easy to do. I don't think taking away their hearts is easy to do. But you talk about a 24-hour, head spin, head turning loss, and just fear and disgust. I don't think anyone's really that mad or unexpected that Spencer Rattler ended up leaving OU, but the rest of it, right? Everyone knew Rattler was leaving, right?
Yeah, that was.
So when somebody tweets out, "All right, put a fork in me, I'm done now." After that one, I'm going, really? But the rest of it,
that was the point.
Lincoln Riley leaving on. Somebody, I saw a couple guys on Twitter just being like, "Oh, okay." I'm going, you know what? And maybe it was a recruit at the same time, and I couldn't keep track of what's going on. But I'll say it this way for sure: a 24 hours for OU football, where I go to Bedlam next day, go play around 18 with a buddy here in Oklahoma, and we're playing golf, and him and his mom play with both of them, and they both went to OU. So of course I'm wearing bright orange Oklahoma State shirt.
Yep.
Why not? And I'm extremely proud and excited of the Oklahoma State win. But I said, "Oh my gosh, hey guys, I'm so sorry. Did you see? Looks like Lincoln Riley's leaving." Dad's a huge fan of OU and also an OU alum. And they're going, "Oh yeah, kind of thought he would be going somewhere and yada yada, etc." And listen, they're family friends. I would not be playing golf on the Sunday after the Bedlam win with anybody besides family friends from high school. But they're not the biggest football fans in the entire world, and I don't think they're going, "Oh no, what will we do next?" They're trying to go, you know what? Well, last night's game sucked. We kind of thought he was leaving anyways, right? And I think there was a good inclination. But I said, "I think it's to USC." What? USC? No, no way.
No.
The wrong LA, right? They're always Louisiana, not, Los Angeles. I gotta say, as a guy living in Oklahoma for quite some time and then going out to Southern California myself, it's not a bad move, Lincoln Riley. I don't blame you there myself. But I will add into it too here that the head spinning factor of the amount of information coming out of OU is bizarre. Normally, okay, head coach leaves. That's it. Done. It's the day after the season ends, and that's all you're right. And there's not much more to the story. We keep getting more and more information about not just recruits dropping, but about how Lincoln Riley left the program.
Yeah.
He walked out of a meeting. Maybe Bob Stoops was called off of a golf course to tell him, hey, you got to go back in there and say something. And, he's got crocodile tears. And you never know what to believe from all this Twitter stuff, to be honest. And I would hope just as a person that, hey, college-age kids are told like men, guys leaving, hey, guys, I made a decision for my family myself. I'm sorry I made it steered you the wrong way, but you know what? I tried to be as fair as I could and did this. Whatever it is, right? But for all the information we're getting from Lincoln Riley and OU and everything is that it could not have gone worse. It could not have gone much more poor. And he's taken half or 99% of the coaching staff. There's one, there's only one OU coach left or whatever. Did see that tweet as well too. So this is an OU team that's going to finish third in the Big 12, regardless of how Oklahoma State Baylor ends. And Oklahoma State's only loss is going to be to the 4th place team in the Big 12. So, I mean, you've been an OSU fan for, I mean, however many years, right? I mean, I know you got the Dodger, flag behind you just to really piss me off, but I'm not going to talk about that too much because this is a happy time. I'm wearing an Oklahoma State jersey, got the Barry Sanders on it. It's a good time. What are your thoughts on the OU deal? Riley even how it went down.
Putting it in perspective of a fan of a rival team, it's always kind of hard to, try to not come across as just, condescending here. So I'll lead off with, I really feel for the players and everyone who is left having to pick up the pieces here. That's a shitty situation to be left in. It is a bad time for everyone, especially the players. So many of them are now having to uproot their entire lives and transfer or, risk that, their shot's over pretty much without, the coach who was, who recruited them and the coach who had all these high expectations and all these promises. All these promises for him. The coach is going to lead him into the SEC, take him over and, up and over. And just all of it fell flat in 12 hours, it seems. And so, I do really feel for them. The people I do not feel for are the fans who were just rubbing it in after OU announced that they were leaving for the SEC. The whole, they don't owe OSU anything. If this information came out, they could have had it harpooned, and they don't know what to OSU to even tell them that they're doing this. It's a business decision. Just I don't understand why you don't know it's just a business decision and do that. It's a business decision for Lincoln Riley. He's making a lot more money now than he was in Norman. And, on top of that, he gets to go to his favorite recruiting hotbed, which is that Southern California skill position paradise, it seems. I mean, it's sounded like he just recruited USC's new recruiting class on OU's dollar, which is just the biggest middle finger possible. They had the number 2 overall quarterback, the number 1 wide receiver, and he was a 4-star running back. I don't know what position he was in the class, but all 3 of them are out of LA, and they all 3 just decommitted from OU. I don't see a world in which they don't immediately commit to USC on signing day here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean it's just for a recruiting timeline. This is not the dead period, excuse me. This is the first time that players can have coaches in their household, I believe it is, to make 6 official visits. So if you're Lincoln Riley, and by this, I mean Sunday, the day Lincoln Riley is leaving OU is the first day you're able to have official player visits in their household, make that final pitch to them or whatever you're doing, and really go on the recruiting hardcore, for the final kind of month or whatever before the bowl game. So the timing of this is insane because it's not, and I do want to play the what if a little bit here, but it's not, oh, okay, well, he's leaving and, it's after their final regular season game and whatever. It's not even that. This is the time to recruit guys. So
this is where you're closing on guys.
Yeah. You're making that final push to seal the deal. The other parts about this too is there's a huge what if in my mind. And I want to ask you, what if, and granted, he did not win Bedlam, but if Riley wins Bedlam, does he not leave OU? Does he coach him through the end of the bowl game? Or is he, because it sounds to me, and you probably get this, Brad Underwood left Oklahoma State the day. I mean, it seemed like less than 12, but less than 24 hours after Michigan beat Oklahoma State in a tournament game. He was with Oklahoma State for less than a full 12 months as a head coach, and it was 1 season. But the way contracts have to work out, etc., it either had to be USC was offering him here's a contract whenever you want to sign it. It's an open contract, or this is the plan. Let's get all negotiations worked out. This is the amount of money, etc., and you're going to sign it on this day, right? Because he had the plane flight booked. This is Monday. It was booked today. He was, traveling, and I understand planes can be booked last minute for a guy like this, but Everything was already all set in place for him to take the job on this exact day. I now go back to July 30th, the day OU said, hey, we're going to the SEC, and go, well, you know what? What if Lincoln Riley starts talking to his agent and goes, you know what? I don't want to be one of the head coaches in the SEC. This would suck. I don't get why Riley would want to leave OU when OU is a Big 12 school and has a seat almost every single year, except for this one, at the championship level table with the Heisman Trophy runners up or winners every single year, conference titles out the wazoo, etc. But if you're going, okay, I've got to find a good place to leave after OU. I don't want to coach in the SEC. I've seen what happens. I'm not going to be one of the guys in the SEC. How do I raise my profile? Oh, well, I go out west and dominate a conference. And let's face it here. I mean, the Pac-12 has got to be the 5th best conference in football right now. So Lincoln Riley's not going to have a problem. He has a double-edged sword. It's going to be hard to recruit the premier athletes there, but also it's going to be probably pretty darn easy on the other side because you're just going to go in and win. I don't think Chip Kelly and UCLA or Mario Cristobal in Oregon or, Utah somehow is in the Pac-12 South, which I have no idea how that makes sense. But they have to find a team to be in the Pac. They have to find that 16 to be in the South anyways. So for me, at least, it's Riley leaves and he's set up real well. And he goes, screw it, I don't want to be in the SEC. But do you think there's any maybe if he had beat OSU, then he would have stayed?
I think he was gone after the season. The question is, when was the last most important game for OU? OU wins Bedlam. They're in the Big 12 title game, and we're not having this conversation right now. Are we having this conversation, in a month? Maybe. Let's say OU wins Bedlam. You get the rematch in the championship game, right? OU loses that. I think he's gone after that, right? If OU loses that, they're knocked out of the playoffs. What's another bowl game? Doesn't really matter. Gone after that. Let's say they win the Big 12 championship. They've now won 6 in a row, 7 in a row. I forget what. I'm pretty sure it's 7 in a row.
Yeah. Every year since 2014. Every year after that TCU and Baylor split. Right?
Yeah, 7. Yeah. That would have been his 7th in a row. It wins 7 in a row. He's at 12-1 on, and probably knocking on the door to get into the playoffs, right? They make the playoffs. He's not leaving. He's in the playoffs. He's got, a national championship to contend for. And I think, OU wasn't a good enough team to, if they got in the playoffs, they're meeting Georgia in round 1. And you're seeing that LSU OU game part 2, Electric Boogaloo, except, OU's not getting on the board. That's going to be a disgusting 52-0 shutout game that everyone then questions, well, is the Big 12 even worth considering, even with OU kind of question, lose the playoffs, get smacked. All right, now he's going to USC. I think he's gone regardless. The question is, what day does he announce it? You pick up your second loss, you're excluded from the championship game. And you're at best, the absolute best case scenario is be the last pick into a New Year's Six bowl that you're going to have players sit out because, it's not the playoffs. So there's not that much at stake. So all your NFL ready guys are all going to sit out. You're not in a great position to win that game. So, is he going to stick around for that? Probably not. But I think more than likely kind of OU's teed off to be in the Alamo Bowl. And he's not staying around for that. You kidding me? That screams the kind of game that, OU settles for this and then loses, 49-14 because, half the roster sits it out because they're trying to get ready for the NFL draft. And, the other half has barely played this season to begin with. And so now you're playing up against a pick a Pac-12 team, Utah. Sure, Utah. Now you're playing against a Utah that has everything to prove after losing in the Pac-12 championship game.
Or be a UCLA with Chip Kelly that's just is chomping at the bit or something. I mean, it's just kind of wild.
Yeah, it's a lose-lose scenario for him.
Lose-lose scenario. The best and funniest, or I'm not even sure what Riley has against OU, but I hope there's something there. Just because I like the chaos, I like the turmoil, I like the drama from all this whole thing. Normally, that's an us thing. It's an OSU thing, right? That's Gundy couldn't win Bedlam. He can do everything but win Bedlam or
couldn't
whatever
win
it is,
Bedlam,
right?
and now they gave him a contract extension because LSU called him once.
Yeah, and then we've got the OAN T-shirt, or we've got someone else or whatever. Normally, this is us.
Yep.
But right now, it's OU. And one other thing I did want to bring up about OU is that Lincoln Riley, his first photo as a USC Trojan, he's wearing and you may know this, he's wearing a USC, pull down hoodie. And I'm a sneaker guy. I just want to show real quick. I have the Barry Sanders Zoom Air shoes, that I wore.
This has nothing to do with Lincoln Riley. You just want to show off your fancy
I want to show off my shoes with,
of course,
basically a very elaborate story here. So it was basically just an opportunity for me to show off my shoes. But with that being said, Lincoln Riley's first photo as a USC head coach is he's wearing Jordans. And I was going, that's weird. I know UCLA because I've gone to quite a few UCLA games this year. My family went to UCLA. Is it the Jordan brand school in the Pac-12? So why is Riley wearing Jordans? Now, Jordan, Nike, of course, is like almost the same thing, except for they're way different. But Riley's wearing Jordans. Oh, wait a second. Is he wearing OU Jordans in his first photo as USC head coach? He's wearing Jordan 1s, like the most famous Jordans of all time.
Yep.
So just wanted to say, I hope that there's some extra drama, there's some extra thing going on or whatever, and we get a tell-all book in like 3 years or 5 years, or maybe it's 30 after you and I are both retired, fingers crossed, or something, right? Because actually might be 40 for me. But anyways, it's just one of those things where normally this is not a area I could talk about. Bob Stoops, there was some stuff every so often or whatever, but Riley's been pretty buttoned up the whole time. And, it's kind of just really had coach talk. And, more and more I talk to OU fans now, there's, well, he was just a game script guy. And once he got off script, he didn't know what to do. Or he was just this, or he was just this, whatever. And, well, he always had Bob Stoops's, recruiting class, or he always had, whatever. And I'm going, there's a lot of, he always, or whatever. And he's not that good in devaluing him when this guy went to however many college football playoffs in a row, has Heisman Trophy winners back to back, and then has Heisman Trophy finalist the year after. And we're saying, he's not, we're devaluing him or whatever. I get it. Listen, the guy may have not been all sliced bread. I would be devaluing the crap out of my head coach too if he left my school less than 24 hours after we lost our biggest game of the season by far. With all that being said, Riley's not a horrible head coach. He will be good. He's definitely a really good head coach, if I had to say so. And would I rather have them than Mike Gundy? Not this season, but years past, I would be definitely barking a different tone for sure. So where does this leave OU? Kind of larger question here. Where do you think this puts OU? Because they're losing recruits left and right too.
Well, I think with the early signing period, they're going to have to hit the they're going to have to hit the transfer market hard because they're losing a ton of guys to the transfer market. They're losing the head of their recruiting class coming in. In the presser today, Bob Stoops did say he's going to do some recruiting for him, which I think is just insane to me. That, your former head coach who basically just retired because he wasn't loving it anymore is still coming back. He's going to coach your bowl game. He's going to do your recruiting so you can get a new head coach. Like, first of all, awesome resource to have. I wish OSU has a guy like that they can just, call on when they're in crisis and be like, hey, can you help make sure the ship doesn't sink right now? Good for them. You know what? That's an awesome thing. Good for them. That being said, you're moving to a new conference probably next year. We can talk about that in a minute here, but moving to a new conference probably next year, you have now lost your head coach who was rumored at every single valuable job there is. When they're talking about, NFL coaches losing their jobs, they're talking about Lincoln Riley is the first name they mentioned, right? I have I am scared of Lincoln Riley as an opposing head coach. The way his offense is run, the way he, game plans everything, that is a scary offense to face no matter what, Oh, they've got a freshman quarterback who makes a ton of mistakes and does all this. Like, it's still going to be scary. We saw that in the first half of Bedlam, where the defensive game plan was not ready for what Riley had cooked up. And so I think he's going to have a tremendous amount of success at USC. He's a great recruiter, that OU fans can knock. Oh, he was using Bob Stoops' recruiting classes. He was their OC before that, and he was the one bringing in all of the 4- and 5-star wide receivers and running backs every year, right?
And the Heisman Trophy guys. I mean, you think Kyler Murray's just, oh yeah, I'd love to go sit behind Baker Mayfield for a year?
Yeah, no, he knows.
He knows. Jalen Hurts, he knows. He's well aware.
Yeah.
And I understand Kyler had to sit out a year no matter what, but he didn't have to sit out the second year.
Nope.
And listen, this Kyler Murray could go down as OU's best quarterback over the past 20 years. I think there's a possibility. Now, granted, I don't think he'll go down as the college version of him, but he could go down as, pro right now, taking Jalen, Kyler, or Baker, you're taking Kyler easily, and it's not even a question, right? So, I'm talking about a guy who's recruited those guys at the school, who's recruited running backs. I mean, Kenny Brooks, but he also, Caleb Williams, 5-star quarterback, who I will say, when I see stats that say he only got sacked 6 times in Bedlam, I'm going, that was it, only 6? Because it felt like he was just sliding out of stuff.
He was running for his life every other play. It's just, the entire first half is, how are they not getting home on these? Yeah. They're getting 3 D linemen touching his jersey, and he's scrambling out for 5 yards, dumping it for 15. I'm like, how?
We're having guys going, oh my gosh, we're having surefire tacklers for Oklahoma State with him. Who have gotten guys the whole season, who have gotten, but that goes to show you how, hey, you know what? The star meter does matter for that reason, right? The guy is elusive. But Caleb Williams is the backup to the Heisman Trophy frontrunner coming into the season, Spencer Rattler, who, of course, imploded at some point during the season. And that has to be one of the weirdest turns of the whole entire, college football season. If we're talking about it as a whole, what's going to be weird, one of the weirdest storylines. Really, it's that Spencer Rattler got replaced in the Texas game, and OU never looks back at it going, should we? They put in Rattler again after Williams got injured.
I'll say they looked back when he got injured and then tried to play through the injury and looked way worse. It was making freshman mistakes on top of an injury. They're like, okay, maybe Rattler's not that bad, but I will say I didn't believe any of the hype about Rattler coming into this year. I thought, if he makes a big step this year, sure. But I didn't think he was the Heisman Trophy front runner unless we see these improvements, not just assuming he made these improvements. So,
yeah, it's just it was consensus number 1 overall pick, maybe, or top quarterback picked, in the class and all that type of stuff. And another OU guy goes number 1. I mean, of course, they had a year where OU quarterback didn't get taken, and last year because Rattler couldn't have gotten drafted, and they have a year before then where it's Jalen Hurts getting drafted in the second round. But I mean, it's not a bad, Baker, Kyler, and then Jalen, not a bad 3 guys in a row to have drafted in the top 2 rounds and number 1 overall picks back to back. I was getting really annoyed about that and really tired of it. So I'm fine now saying, you know what? I think it's okay for OSU to have a moment, or just keep having a moment for a little bit, because this is how we normally feel. Normally I'm going, here's the 7 comments my coworkers make to me when they see the Pittsburgh Steelers play, or whatever, and they see Mason Rudolph get hit in the head with a helmet, and I don't know what to think about Mason last night, man. Is he backing up Big Ben? Yeah, you know what? I'm so sorry that one of the 32 football teams in the NFL doesn't have a starting quarterback that went to Oklahoma State. I wish it was different. Don't get me wrong. Yep. I wish Brandon Wayne was still in the NFL. Wish a lot of things there with that. But it's nice every once in a while just to go, you know what? Okay, 2011, 2014, but now really with a huge stamp on our chest, 2021. Yep. And this year's different than 2011 for me for 2 reasons. One, as I think everyone who's ever heard me say 5 words ever to them about college, I was at OSU for 6 years. 2011 was the year before I went to OSU. So now after graduating from OSU and knowing, you know what, I've got that pride and the thought and 3,000 OSU t-shirts later going, you know what? We not only do we deserve it, but this came rightfully. This was a game where we held on at the end, we won Bedlam, and for all intents and purposes, we deserved to win Bedlam. I mean, it was not going our way. OU guy jumped off, offside 6 times, got called for 5 of them or whatever it was. Was really trying to jump the snap and time the snap or whatever. It's just absurd to me to go, you know what? Oh, but OU had the pass interference call, and that's more or less what I'm building to here. From the Bedlam game itself, before we talk about the Baylor game and kind of the rest of the Big 12, how fearful were you in that minute 16 or whatever when it was? Oh crap! OU's gonna get the ball back with 55 seconds. What were your thought processes going down there in the final minute?
Once they got that 4th down stop, that 4th and 10, I was like, okay, I think this is it. I think they got it. They just got to get a 1st down, and I was convinced they would. I was horrified when they didn't get the 1st down. You got so close. Well, you're going to give them the ball back. Either you're going to break their wills here, or you're going to have a lot of crying people in this stadium right now. So welcome to a moment in history, as they would say on SB Nation.
It's always a good one.
Always a good one. But, when it came down to it, and I saw Williams get that, 50-yard rush, I'm just like, oh God, it's happening. It's one of those Bedlam games where we have all the hope and all the momentum, and it's coming down to it. And, just play after play, they were just taking shots at each other, it seemed. And I will say a little bit on the pass interference. If you watch the game, they let both sides really, really fight on those jump balls. As long as, a defender got his head around and both arms are free for both teams, they let it play. And they were consistent about that. There were plenty of missed penalties on OU in the same regard. That 1st or 2nd touchdown, the Stogner fade, that was somehow that's why I'm horrified of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had to rush a pass off and threw a perfect fade to a guy who wasn't open yet. But Stogner pushed off, clear as day, extends out, pushes the defender back to get the separation he needed to make the catch. That's OPI, So if they're not going to call that, and they're not going to call that at the end, then I have no problem with it. And is that me saying that because we won and I'm totally okay with it? Maybe. But as far as PI goes, they called it consistently all game. If you want to sit here and say, oh, well, that should be, pass interference, they were just helping OSU by, letting them get away with it. I'm like, that's what they were allowing all game. If they all of a sudden change it and don't allow that, they want OU to win then. They think that, that they need to change it to disadvantage OSU. Right? So there's plenty of plays. The rest were garbage both ways the entire game. Right? Tons of missed offsides on OU. I don't think they should have picked up that, that flag at the end, towards the end there. I forget what they were going to call unnecessary roughness or some kind of personal foul. I don't think they should have picked that up. But, at the end of the day, you don't want to leave it up to ref ball. Score more points. The OU offense scored 0 points in the second half. And that's not because of the refs. That's because the OSU defense made the right adjustments and decided to stop going for the home run blitz every single time. To put it in NCAA football 14 terms, you stopped calling the engage 8 and you started doing cover 3s. Right? They basically made Caleb Williams beat him with his arm and not with his legs.
And he almost did beat us with his arm. He almost, the 55 seconds left on the clock, or 54 seconds, where heck, they get into the red zone. I forget which one of our defensive players said it the best, but said, "Oh, once they got in the red zone, I felt better because our defense only gets better when they have a shorter field to work with," which is true. You expand, you decrease plane surface, except for the fact that hadn't been true the whole game. They basically been just throwing a fade route into the end zone from what it looked like watching the game in stadium, and it had just been working out.
Yep.
They've been beating us, basically we just had the safety drop or they throw it to the guy who our safety wasn't on.
Yep.
And they threw it to the guy in single coverage. And, yes, is there a pass interference call that may have not gone their way? Sure. But to your point, they didn't score an offensive point in the second half. Also, they were up 33-24. You're up 9 points. You're OU. You have a 5-star quarterback, and you lost the game. That's not only because of one play. I'm sorry, it's just not. You know what? And if you give them a fresh set of downs and they have the ball at the 1, maybe it ends up differently, right? Who knows? But it's not, you don't get a touchdown. They don't hand you 7 points.
Yeah.
So, or 6. But it's just absurd to me to think about the penalties. And it's really rich at the end of the day to go, do you remember the Justin Gilbert interception? Oh,
of course I do.
Yeah, right. And I know you do, but like, you fans, you remember that one? That was clearly an interception from every angle ever, right? You remember the Blake Bell got in but didn't get in, right? And is pushed by a lineman. I mean, there's so many things I can go back to. And as an OSU fan, there's a ton that I can count because we have lost Bedlam a lot of times.
Yep.
But with that being said, you're going to be just killing me inside if we're just talking one pass interference call. Because you know what I wanted to spend my entire Saturday night doing? Screenshotting part of a game and then sending a pixelated image of that screenshot into every single Twitter reply thread of an OSU fan being excited that their team won.
Yep.
That's how the OU faithful is. But really, it's just Walmart University just running their mouths as much as they want. So I got the shade where I can. Because you know what? As many friends I have that went to high school with who decided to go to OU and I decided to go OSU, right? I was, listen, it was a decision we made as kids, as 18-year-olds or under. Yeah, they all understand that like OSU hasn't won, the Big 12 for 18 years in a row. So it's fine bumping our chest every so often. And, for all of they're going to hold this one over our heads like they did 1945. You know what? You damn better believe we will.
Oh,
because we won the game. I mean, it's you play you can only play what's on in front of you. Now, if for some reason OU had won this game and then been a chance to win the Big 12 championship this weekend against us, they only have one loss. They beat OSU as probably a top 10 ranked team once, and then maybe a top 12 ranked team or top 13 ranked team again. Maybe there's a shot they have college football playoffs, although I don't think so. And a bunch of other what ifs. But if you're an OU fan, it just is how it is. You're in shambles. And then your head coach decides, screw this, I'm out. And he takes half the recruiting class and half the head coaching staff with him.
I'll be the first to admit I don't think him leaving had anything to do with the Bedlam result. I think the Bedlam result is set the timeline for him leaving. But it feels nice with the thought of he was so used to beating OSU. The second he lost once, he had to get the hell out of the conference. Just, it's a good feeling. Oh, it feels nice. I know it's not true, but let me have it.
Oh, well, but let us have it for sure. Because at the end of the day, I can just keep going back to the same thing. We won, but Lincoln Riley lost. But OU lost not just a game. They lost maybe another couple seasons. We've seen now Oklahoma State linebacker / defensive end. Brock Martin's coming back for another year. There's a couple other guys who can come back for a couple more years too. I'm not
Gundy
trying to
was saying, Gundy was saying in his presser today there are 9 seniors who are coming back because they have the COVID year of eligibility left. He said most of the defense is coming back, which that defense was like 8 seniors and 3 juniors. So like if your 3 juniors obviously staying, but like Brock Martin, is Malcolm Rodriguez back? Is Colby Harvell Peel back?
I mean, I got to think those guys that walked on senior day, Christian Holmes, Dark Brown, Converse, Colby Harvell Peel, Malcolm Rodriguez, I got to think those guys leave. But if there's 8 of them, well, I just named 4. So somebody's staying of those 4 I named. And our defensive line, Trace Ford coming back after ACL injury. Knock on as much wood as you can that he stays healthy. Is it too weird to say I think our defense is only better next season? I mean, there's no way it is.
I need to see who comes back If the only losses you're replacing are like Colby Harvell Peel's gone and Trey Sterling's back, they might be better. But let's wait and see who the official people coming back are. I think the big thing is if this defense returns half of its snaps, half of its cumulative snaps from this year to next, you better believe we're easily the Big 12 favorites. If this defense is only taking a minor step back and the offense is now going to have a full year of practice where they know who they are, because your only major loss on offense is going to be Tay Martin, who, he's been great. He's been wonderful. Absolutely love the guy. He felt like kind of a stopgap player where he's the best senior on the roster, but they're a freshman who will be better. It feels
yeah. The Green brothers. I was just gonna say the Green brothers, Bryson and Blaine, have been incredible in the chance they've gotten. Logan Carter, I think it is the tight end, Cowboy back.
Yep,
he's been decent. He hasn't been incredible, but
he's barely played this year. He got hurt, and then Brandon Cassidy ended up being like Carter came back from injury and couldn't get his job back from Brandon Cassidy. Now, Brandon Cassidy got hurt and gave him the job back, but they've barely used Cowboy back since. It seems like, for the longest time, they used Cowboy backs as a crutch in their run game. I don't even notice when they come on the field now because it seems so rare that it's almost like we just need an extra blocker in the goal line kind of thing, or 3rd and 1. Okay, well, you're bringing in 2 tight ends anyway. They're not using them on every down like they were.
It's just and I think that speaks more to the depth, but also the amount of guys we have on the roster. Also, does LD Brown come back? I know Jalen Warren's gone. I think there's almost no way Jalen Warren come back. Maybe the COVID
technically
does give
he's got a year, but with how running backs fare in the NFL, how short their lifespan is in that aspect, if you got a chance to get drafted as a running back, especially in the first, let's say 4 rounds, you go. Don't even look back. If someone told me, Jalen Warren got a 4th round grade, I'm like, no, please get drafted, please. No, I would much rather see you succeed in the NFL than have us get one more shot at it and then almost destroy your career. Like Chuba Hubbard coming back, love that for him. It made us feel like we really had a shot last year. Shouldn't have done it. It tanked his draft stock, and I think it kind of put him in a worse spot. He's made the best of it with the situation in Carolina now, especially now that CMC is done for the season. Let's just say that my last round pick of Chuba Hubbard and stashing him has been well worth it. Thank you for that, Chuba. If you're watching this, I doubt it, but you know what? If you are, thank you.
Shout out to Mike Davis last year too. Always drafted the backup running back.
Yep. But I think Warren and Martin are the 2 on offense that I'm pretty sure for sure gone. I'm pretty sure Martin's gone regardless because I'm pretty sure he came back with his COVID eligibility. I want to say he was a senior last year, and then the COVID season gave him 1 more. If I remember right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's very, very hard to track right now because of everyone's got like 6 years if you include an injury year, 7 if they get a special red shirt, like a special exemption on top of that, where I'm pretty sure there are going to be some guys who have been here 7 years.
Shane Ellenworth has 4 years left of eligibility.
Oh my, does he really?
He does. So he's going to redshirt this year. I mean, he didn't play in the Big 12 championship game, or excuse me, he didn't play in normally the de facto Big 12 championship game, but he didn't play in the Bedlam game. So he could still play 2 more games and still have the 4 games played while still being able to redshirt. So he could play in the Big 12 championship on Saturday if needed and play again. And from everything I heard,
redshirt.
Yeah, he was being held out of the game that Gunnar Gundy came in basically to hold it onto his red shirt because he's been that good in practice that they want to make sure they keep all the eligibility possible.
That's fair.
In fact, I actually had, weirdly enough, I've flown to Oklahoma City, not for the Bedlam game. I wish I could say that's what it was for, but for Thanksgiving. And I'll be here for a little bit longer, just helping out family with stuff. But I had a chance to go take my little brother to a soccer game And there's a guy, and this is on Saturday before we drive up to Stillwater, and there's a guy wearing a Shane Illingsworth jersey, and he's not wearing a number 16 jersey. Those is floated around every so often around Stillwater.
Yeah,
that are, exactly
they
like
usually do a jersey with the year on it.
Exactly, yeah.
So
it has Illingsworth on the back. I mean, it is embroidered on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, that's kind of weird. Talked to him for a little bit. Oh, it's his uncle. Shane Illingsworth's uncle was just randomly at my little brother's game. You never know who you're going to run into in Oklahoma City. It's actually always crazy. And of course, he's not the uncle's son. He's playing on the team against my brother, so I'm not chatting about the entire game, but I am learning a couple tidbits here and there, and that was one of them. Illingworth apparently a couple different things. Beat CJ Stroud twice in high school, played against him, and can run a sub 4.5 40.
Good for him.
And so a bunch of other just random tidbits of information with Illingsworth, but the other one is that he has 4 years left of eligibility after this season.
Wow.
Which I know there's a guy coming out of Texas as well who's a quarterback we've sought after. It's like
Garrett Rangel.
Yeah,
if I remember
Garrett
right.
Rangel. Yeah. So
I think that'll be the quarterback battle of the future. But the problem is can we keep Illingworth and Rangel on the roster with another year Spencer Sanders? Can we keep all 3 of them around another season, basically?
Because I don't think Sanders is leaving for any reason at all. I don't know why. I don't think he has enough to leave on, right? Because if he leaves, it's going to be for the pros, and I don't think he's going to get higher than a 4th round grade, right? I mean, this story has all been about our defense the whole entire year.
It's been about the defense, and it's everyone talks about how Sanders' biggest improvement has been not forcing the ball. It hasn't been that Sanders has become a way better passer or that he's making better reads. Is that he's learned when not to unleash it on the run.
Yeah.
Right. Because I went back and watched the Baylor game, from earlier this season, because that's his worst game of the year. Pretty safe to say. I mean, one of the interceptions was a tip drill, which I never blamed the quarterback for, but one of them was just, he's on the run. I'm going to make a play. I'm going to lay it up there. My guy's going to, go up and get the jump ball. I'm the hero. And then short arms it, leaves it in the flat and picked off, coming the other way. Too easy. How many times has it been like that where most of his interceptions have been on the run trying to make a play? And, he was trying to do it again during Bedlam. I mean, that first interception, he was, avoiding the pressure and completely made the misread, thought the defender on that side of the field was in man and would be gone. And he dropped into the zone and did not catch it because he was scrambling. And, the other one was a tip drill. That was probably not the greatest pass because he was under pressure. But at the end of the day, if it hits the receiver in the hands and goes airborne, I'm not going to sit here and say you made a bad pass. I'm going to say you just got an unlucky break. So
exactly, yeah. A couple other things on that game is that and this is the Baylor OSU game earlier in the season. Of course, it's in Stillwater, but OSU won by 10. So it's not by 3 on a last second field goal. And we outscored them in every quarter but the third quarter of the game. The other things here too is that Warren had a crazy good day, had 125 yards, but he averaged 3.5 yards per carry, so he ran the ball quite often. And Sanders had a 58 QBR, so it's not like we played insanely well and we barely beat Baylor by 10. We played a kind of okay game and we only let him score 14. And I say it like that because I think there's a good chance this weekend here we don't let him score that much. A lot depends on if their quarterback, Gary Mahanan, comes back this week. But he's got a hamstring injury that's kind of held him out a little bit. He still is, of course, he's an active player on their roster and stuff. But don't know if you had a chance to watch the Texas Tech Baylor game. I was, of course, a lot of OSU fans were cued into it just because of what it meant if we're going to play OU again, basically.
Yep.
If we're going to play Baylor, depending on how we played. What are your guesses for this weekend, and what's your prediction here as we kind of look ahead?
Well, my big thing, first thing I'm going to tell you what, right now I'm pulling up the box score from the Baylor game earlier this year because I'm trying to remember what was wrong with the offense. Because earlier this year, our offense wasn't gelling. And it was mostly because they were injured. You know, they were settling the offensive line. The receivers were, you know, of the top 8 guys, 6 of them were hurt at some point in the first 6 weeks. And so, but looking at it, you know, Brennan Presley had 1 reception. So I'm guessing Presley was hurt. Blaine Green had 1. They hadn't really come on the scene yet. They were coming off injury. And Tay Martin had 6, but Tay Martin just came back from injury. Outside of those guys, Warren got 2 passes. Rashad Owens got 3. They completed 13 passes that game. That is completed. How many times can you say that in your career as an OSU fan? OSU completed only 13 passes and won the game by double digits.
I don't know how many times I can say OSU only attempted 23 passes in a game, and we won. And I think the only other time is the Boise State game. I think we attempted 21 passes or something bizarre in that Boise State game. More and more I look back into it now, every single receiver we had was out, basically due to COVID. That Boise State game is bizarre. But this Baylor game is also bizarre from exactly what you said. I mean, did we outpass the other team? Yeah, but by 9 yards. We had 182 yards passing, in a game against another Big 12 team. That's not an OSU team I know.
Never.
I mean, we 219 yards rushing the football, but Sanders has he has the longest carry of the game. That's not normally how Big 12 football games go. Period. And like you said on the receiving end, Tay Martin pulling in 6 catches for 110 yards is insane. But it's insane really to think about that when his longest catch was for 26 yards.
Yeah.
So he pretty much
being efficient.
He pretty much always caught it for like 18 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah. And more and more watching the highlights, understanding how the game went, I got to say I was nervous, and I watched this game originally and went, oh gosh, it's gonna be Baylor. It's gonna be at home. Maybe this is when we don't pull out. And Warren has a fumble, and Walmart has an ad as I'm live on a podcast. I'm just gonna close out of that completely. Fun stuff. But there are so many things that could have gone against us in that Baylor game, made us lose, but we still pulled it out and won, which makes me just incredibly hopeful, but also confident in our team this weekend. I think we've only gotten better. To be honest, I think Baylor's gotten a little bit worse.
Baylor as a whole has gotten better, but the fact that their quarterback, who has, been the biggest driver on their team, has been their second leading rusher basically, and is, been the complete heart of their offense. With him hurt, that's a different ballgame. Their defense has been playing better. Their offense up until the injury had been playing better. But if Gary Bohannon's not back, I don't want to say it's a blowout for OSU, but I've got a lot of confidence in this team now. I've got a lot of confidence that I haven't had in an OSU team since 2016, when they were beating the brakes off everyone with their offense and the defense just needed to keep up. And it's the reverse now. I somehow feel way better. But I mean, the offense is completely unrecognizable from before the Iowa State. We'll say the Texas game. The Texas game was kind of when the offense started to figure it out. The offense did just enough to not be out of the game, and then the defense clamped down, got the offense back into it, and the offense was just pieced together just enough to win the game, right? Come out the next week, Iowa State, play a clean game. Offense has figured it out, but, Iowa State's got a pretty solid defense. OSU's defense did just enough. Offense came up short on a bad spot on the ball. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a bad loss or anything like that, but it's a game they should have won. It's a game they could have won. And looking back now, if OSU and ISU play again, 9 times out of 10, they win, I think right now. But,
if we want to talk about, controversial call there, I mean, that was a first down.
Yeah.
Although maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
I think it was, but I understand why they didn't overturn it. So, but ever since that ISU game, Kansas, West Virginia, TCU, Texas Tech, and even OU, the offense is a completely different animal. They have figured out how they run the ball, even with backup offensive linemen. The Spencer Sanders, as long as he doesn't play his hero ball and he can, limit the mistakes, is going to distribute the ball evenly. They've got 5-6 wide receivers they trust now versus the 2 they had when they last played Baylor, which was Tay Martin and Brennan Presley. Now, you've got those 2 guys who are fully healthy and fully in the game. You've got the Green twins who have both been phenomenal. John Paul Richardson has, showed up as what appears to be Charlie Moore reincarnated. During the Texas Tech game, I literally stopped and said, "Oh my God, that's Charlie Moore, the number 17 jersey on him. It looks good. He wears it well. He fills that role. But man, that's Charlie Moore, man."
It's just a spitting image for sure. Well, as we wrap up this one a little bit, I'll leave it with some Dave Aranda quotes here about how surefire they know Gary Bohannon's playing next week, because apparently, and quote here, he's going through all that, so we'll see kind of where he's at. Gary is the leader for us and is a stalwart, really. And so I think he's the face of what we're doing over here. And so we're excited to have him back and kind of see where it goes, end quote. That sounds like a head coach who is confident his player is playing this Saturday for sure, right? But I mean, and that's I mean, and who knows? I mean, Gary Bohannon could play this weekend. OSU held him to a season low 46.5 completion percentage in the game he did play against us previously, and he had a rushing touchdown. That's not to say that his backup isn't fine. Texas defense, who knows if we want to say good or bad, if they prepared for a different quarterback or whatever. But Texas defense allowed the freshman quarterback for Baylor, who's the backup, Blake Shapen, allowed for 250 yards, throwing and 2 touchdowns. So he's not a slouch, their backup, but I got to say, I don't think it matters. I think we win this one. I think it's probably like a 10-point win again, to be honest. I think we're probably up, and then there's kind of a scare from Baylor there at the end. We're up like maybe, I'll kind of get my score prediction here. I say we'll win this one. I said we win Bedlam 30-17, and we ended up winning 37-33, and it was much closer than I thought it would be, but also I'm still so happy we won. I don't care. I guess, I'll give a score prediction here of Oklahoma State beats Baylor in Arlington for an 11 a.m. kickoff, of course, but with, I'm going to say 60 to 70% OSU fans, and it is, I'm going to say 31-21 win.
31-21. Okay. Let me get my my lines here, see what they're calling this game. The line is OK State -5.5, over under 46. So we're talking, if Vegas is picking this game, to do some quick maths here, like a 24-17 kind of game. That's what Vegas is saying. I don't think it's like that. I think it's to be like a 31-10 kind of game for Oklahoma State. I think they hold this one pretty tight. You told me it's like a 31-17, and they get a garbage time touchdown to make it more interesting than it actually is. Sure, but I'm feeling pretty confident about this one. Offense has been rolling. The guys are back. The defense, it's got all the confidence in the world right now. You just shut down OU in the second half. Go out there, figure out Baylor, do it again, and I think it's a lot easier win this time around.
Yeah, I'm completely with you there, and I would love for OSU to win this one handily. I would love for OSU to blow them out 45-10. I don't think that's our MO with this team, but I think it's just going to feel as dominant because our defense is going to allow a lot of points. Yep. I could see us honestly getting up 24-3 in the first quarter, and then somehow we get one more touchdown and we slowly let them back where it's they end up scoring 21. And that's what I think will happen the other day, where it's, all right, we're fine. Cardiac Cowboys of old.
See, normally I'd agree with you. That's been the OSU defensive MO for a long time, even if they're having a really good game. they'll slip up late and let them back into it enough, but they haven't really done that. They get better as the game goes on. As long as the starting defense is in, I mean, they only gave up starting defense only gave up touchdowns to OU and Iowa State and Texas. Like, it's, of course, they gave up some to Baylor and Kansas State as well, but they've gotten a lot better since then.
a lot better. And it's been a good season so far. Well, Colin, let everyone know where, as we wrap up the podcast here, where can everyone find more of your OSU insights and just follow you more in general?
Say for all your sports content, you're going to want to follow me on Twitter at the CP3. That's 3 with 3 I's, the Roman numerals. For anything else, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/bearinThere.
Nice.
Lots of good gaming content. I've been playing NCAA college football on there lately. It's been fun breaking that out on the old Xbox 360.
The 2014 Denard Robinson.
Yep.
Shoelace.
You know it.
Yeah. I know for 2 reasons. One, because I saw a stat right before the OSU before Bedlam game saying the last time Michigan beat Ohio State was when Denard Robinson was on the cover until this past weekend. And then I also remember that was the last time we beat OU until this weekend. So
yep.
Very fond of that game. Do still wish I had a 360 somehow, some way, but with the NIL deals, I think we'll see NCAA football before too long again. It'll be forever gone. Yeah,
it'll be back for sure at some point.
We'll be okay with it, I guess. Well, Colin, thanks so much for joining me here on the latest episode of the CGA Tour. Please follow at the CGA Tour on Twitter and Instagram if you can. Catch you guys again soon here.